Hello, this is Karri Ojala from the Flick Lab. Okay, this is a small preface. About 10 years ago, I was part of a certain TV production. Now, 10 years later, the editor and director of said production invited our podcast to come and see their first fictional feature film in an early press screening. Well, obviously, me and my co-host Henrik accepted the invitation. And the film tells of hardships of Karelian evacuees leaving their home during the Second World War when Russia attacked Finland. And as a result, Finland lost parts of their territory, leading in mass evacuations. Anyway, you will hear more in the episode itself from us and the writer-director Annika Grof and editor-producer Joon Tervakari. Let's hear the trailer first, though.
Älä ole Atkan. Minä olin koko ajan tässä. Päivänä haisuus sama asia kuin konsulta olla. Tiedätkö sitä?
Katohan reikkalaisia.
Kun sun varisto kati, Sara on tyhjen. Eikö mukaan elletä, kus päin tiiustua?
Tässä avioliitossa minä en halua olla yksin.
Tauluvaris, nyt kuuntelet!
Ilman ei niitä vetty. Meille ei maksani oppia.
Me haluttais tätä lähteä viemään toimikuntaansa.
Toimikunnassa ja kommunisteja istuu.
Maita Tankan kanssa lähet lavalle tanssimaan.
No en.
Mä jäädä sinne, että lähtes piakkaan minun päin lupua kysymättä.
Antti!
Eikätkö?
Voi mua, sinä kuulisit minua muka kuin ennen. Etkä vain sua tuskua.
Kehtanetkin priilasin sitanke.
Juokse liikaa, juokse. Minä voi mennä jälkeen päälle. Jälkeen päälle.
Toinaan meissä ei ole tieläiksi.
Älä tuomaitsen henkosi.
Okay, let's hit it. Welcome to the Flick Lab. I'm Karri. He's Henrik, my co-host. And most importantly, we have Joon Tervakari and Annika Grof joining us. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Hello, thank you.
Annika Grof is, of course, the director of today's film that we are talking about. There will be spring. In Finnish, we call it Syksyn, jälkeen, saapuu kevät. It's been a while since we've met. About 10 years ago, I was working in an Annika Grof production, Sydänääniä, or Heartbeats. But
It's been a while. It's been 10 years.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we've been keeping in touch, and you've been up to a lot of things during that time. We have now done 100 episodes. This is the 101st.
Really?
Yeah.
And as you remember, in the 100th, we already talked about that we might, in the future, shape up the format a bit and kind of let go from strictly sticking to the scene-by-scene stuff and instead going with the kind of a general flow of every given episode and every given movie. So it's kind of a fitting that now, 101st, immediately is completely abandoning scene-by-scene and the previous stuff and doing something completely new. It's almost like we planned this, like real professionals.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't planning on meeting you in the next 500 episodes, but here we are once again. Here we are in the Pinkino Tennispalatsi in Helsinki, recording this. How did this start? How did you come up with this from 2015 immigration crisis, right? This is mainly coming from.
Well, I think 2015, with all the immigrants coming from the countries middle of the war, horrible war, it was something we Europeans hadn't experienced for a while, for decades, I would say. It was the same here in Finland, and I think we all were kind of a bit shocked about these people coming over Mediterranean Sea, and we heard all these stories going on, people dying, people walking through Turkey with small children, with elderly people, and so on. And then there was this 30,000 people coming in 2015 and 2016, maybe 2017, it was 30,000 people coming to Finland. Of course, in other parts of Europe, it was more, but that was the amount of people coming to Finland. Then first it was like the spirits in Finland was like, we want to help. We want to help these people. But then little by little, the political spirits, climate began to change. And there began to be these kind of racist voices about how we don't want these foreign people with foreign cultures and foreign religions and so on coming here because they are suspicious people. There was political forces which thought that these people coming from Syria, from Iran, Iraq and so on, that they are some kind of a threat to us Finnish people. Then there was people like me and people like Joon who thought that this is ridiculous, that we are a 5 million people nation with good standard of life, and it shouldn't be a problem to take care of these 30,000 people. And those racist voices were so loud and so horrible that I thought that, as I think that many artists began to make art about this kind of new situation. It was something new. And I wanted to do something, but I didn't want to take my camera and go to and kind of shoot now what is happening now in Turkey but I began to think about us as Finnish people. When was the situation the same for us? And that was during the Second World War, when we had the war with Russians and we lost our eastern parts of Finland to Russia. And those people over there, it was quite a big area which we lost. It was kind of 500,000, 400,000 who left, who had to leave. And that amount of people took their things, animals, domestic animals, they took their children, elderly people, and walked out of eastern Karelia and came to the other parts of Finland. And they had to be inhabited somewhere. I claim that the situation was quite the same as in 2015, 16, 17 with Syrian and Iraqi people. My hypothesis was, when I began to write the script for this film, was that we have forgotten ourselves, that we have been through the same thing in 1940s. And because it's been a while, there's still these elderly people who remember what happened. But those who didn't experience it, us younger people, we have forgotten that they have experienced the same. That they came to these places where the local people were suspicious or hostile and so on. There was racism and so. So this was my thoughts when I began to write.
Are you planning for some kind of a wider audience for this film? I'm talking about outside of Finland, some festivals or anything coming up?
Yes, of course. I think every filmmaker and producer also wants that their film would spread out in the world widely, but we cannot make the decision about the film festivals because it's the film festival's job. But we hope that it will go as far as possible. Also, we're thinking to take this to Estonia, because I think there might be also people interested about these stories about after World War also in Sweden. That's our plans now, but we have just started this distribution of the film, so let's see how we succeed.
Possibly also Latvia and Lithuania.
That's
because, yeah.
Maybe after this autumn we will be more like wise about this, that how we manage to spread the film, distribute it outside of Finland. We start here first, now, next month.
Yeah. Annika, so you are coming from like a documentary background. Let's talk about, at least so far, your most known work, Within Limits.
It's about politics, the hard politics in Finland. But that was already 10 years ago. I loved doing that film. I spent over a year in Finnish parliament, getting to know people, searching for main characters, and getting to know the everyday life of doing hardcore politics in Finland. What it is in everyday basis, and searching for the story for the film. Politics is so exciting, and it was so nice to see that people are kind of defending democracy together, in spite that they are from different parties. I was told that you are never going to get a good story, cinematic story, out of parliament because it's so dull. And I disagreed. I said that you're going to see. It's going to be interesting. But then I made the movie and I made them see, because it was a thriller, political thriller, and that's why I think it still is quite good movie, even though I say so myself. But
And you guys have been working for quite a while as well. I suppose since after all of that, when I was in the project that we were doing together.
yeah, where we fell in love.
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. No.
I mean, yeah.
Well, he can tell you.
I don't know if your podcast listeners knows that about a little bit more than it's 10.5 years ago when you, Karri, actually were my editing assistant in the production, and that's how we know. And
You're
Annika,
a pain in the butt.
Annika was creating the TV series and also directing it, and that's actually, I think that's the
And
base.
shooting it.
And shooting it also,
yeah.
yeah. Maybe that's the base why we are here today. So
Nicely.
yes.
Appreciate that.
And so you kept collaborating on some work, or
Yeah, this is a very common story at this field of profession. Yeah, people start seeing each other also personally, and that happened to us also. I told him at that time that now we began to see each other and we're kind of an issue together. I don't want to work with you anymore because I want to keep these lives separate. And here we are. It just went on this way because I consider him one of the best editors in Finland, and that's why I wanted to work with him as though I didn't want to, but I just thought that, well, he's so good that I want him to edit different things. And when it came apparent that it's also possible that he could produce, which I'm interested in doing. And we have been doing together originally commercials. After commercials, there will be spring, and then this documentary, long feature documentary, which is
now
under
production.
editing process now. So this is the situation now. I don't know where it is going to end.
looking forward to it. And now you are married, yes?
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
for 1 year now.
Wow. Congrats.
Maybe in film industry there are usually directors and producers who are working together with many films because they are like good team. And that means that you understand what the other person wants to do, and then the work is much more easier and the result is much more better. So I've always thought before we had any kind of relationship that Annika is how I think. I really appreciate her as a director and scriptwriter also. And also then the directors are collecting the people that are easy to work with the TOP and editor and sound designer and that kind of stuff. And also in that area we match as an editor and director, so that makes us this team to make these films together, I believe.
Yeah, I think in many
Niin.
cases we share the same vision.
Yeah,
and
same
that's the most important
thinking.
thing.
Yeah, vision and thinking and feeling about how the storyline should go and what's the intensity and rhythm and everything. So that makes it really nice also.
I don't know what makes exactly two chronically stressed podcasters to collaborate when we just keep on fighting together. We have also been kind of married for 2 years, but it's a different story.
I confess nothing.
Yeah.
But it's not the easy thing to be married and do many productions at the same time, because then it's like, just actually yesterday, Annika told me that I'm tired that we always just talk about this work. Then I was thinking and I was like, okay, if I talk you work things from 9 to 5, and after that I will tell you nothing about because it's really hard to make the line. Then when is the working time? My office is home, my edit is in home. Annika's writing in home, she has her own room where she writes.
Hopefully not in the future, because I'm dreaming of going abroad and write there and leave home like as it is, it's home.
But hopefully I'm with you. And
yes,
then
you can be, but leave your edit. Leave your edit behind.
If you will direct your next feature film in Italy, I'll be there.
Oh, yes. I'll send you invitation.
Yeah, so indeed this is your first feature film. Must have been quite a different story than...
Feature, because Within Limits was also feature, but documentary.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe I feel that there's still this kind of, I don't know, I got this documentary vibe from the film, how it is pictured. Did you have that kind of a guidance for the cinematography when you started doing it? Handheld feel sometimes, very natural.
It's. I think you're talking about authenticity.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It was a decision we made with the cinematographer Jarmo Kiuru, who is magnificent cinematographer. And the thing is that I never actually wanted to do a film which is epoch. It wasn't my kind of goal. And when I ended up thinking about the political situation with the immigrants in 2015, and I realized that we had this connection to 1940s, it was kind of clear that even though I don't want to do epoch, I have to. But I didn't want to make epoch film which kind of looks like epoch. I wanted to do it like we feel the main characters and the people in the film as we knew them, as they were people at this era. I was talking a lot about that to Jarmo when we were thinking about how we were going to do this cinematically, kind of how are we going to shoot this, what is our principle, thinking and thought about that. It was the authenticity. And the thing that we don't want to make epoch, we want to make a story. We want it to feel as much as this, our time, as possible. So we wanted to skip all this pönötys. You can translate this. We didn't want to make it kind of stiff and, the camera standing. We wanted to kind of live beside the characters and kind of breathe with them. And we also wanted to skip all the dustiness about the 1940s and bring there some modern elements, and this was one of them. The cinematography was one of them.
And in the centerpiece we have a character called Anni, played by Asta Sveholm. When you talk about the story, there is this family or families who have had to leave their home in Karjala, what we might call rural Karjala, the border region Karjala, which they leave, and they are taken as foreigners or Russians or the other people when they relocate. Anni is seemingly in love with Tauno, but there's also some other motivations for her, possibly to keep it going. You can probably read it in a couple of different ways. Actually, you have quite a lot of seasoned actors, but they had to speak a language that was not their own. How did that come about? How much language learning had to be done, and how much of a mountain was it to cross for the actors?
Well, this language, it's Livvi.
It's a Karelian language.
One of the Karelian languages. There is not so many people anymore who actually speak the language, but in 1940s there was. The reason why this film is spoken by it is that the story is about a family who comes from the northern parts of Karelia, which was this Livvi-Karelian language area. They come from Salmi. Livvi was the mother language of these people. They actually didn't know so much Finnish when they came to Finland. Some of them spoke Russian, but not Finnish. So there was these people who didn't actually speak Finnish at all, even though they were Finnish people. We wanted to be authentic about this thing also. And I thought that when I'm telling a story about this kind of group of people, I want them to speak their language. I did my research, of course, before that. I researched their culture, their religion, which is Orthodox. And then I wrote the scripts, and we rehearsed the key scenes of the script with all the actors. We wanted to kind of rehearse the expression first without the foreign language. Then the transcription came after that, and then we rehearsed all over again with Livvi-Karelian language. So we rehearsed 2 times, and that was it. And in rehearsals we have the translator with us all the time, and also during the shooting, when we were shooting the Livvi-Karelian languaged scenes, he was there listening if it goes wrong or right. And that was absolutely necessary.
And for our listeners, we might reiterate that this was during the Second World War, when we in Finland lost part of that region, and so the speakers of Livvi are nowadays living both in Russia and Finland around the border area. Today it seems that there's about 31,000 speakers of this language in total, and sounds like a very beautiful language. I would say that this would be even more close to what Tolkien might have used in The Lord of the Rings as his inspiration for the elf language.
Oh yeah.
One thing I'd like to say about that, I'm really proud that we use the real Karelian language with this Livvi dialect, if it's the correct way to say, because that's something that it makes the film feel like more real, because it's not just like Finnish to speak in Karelian style or Karelian dialect, so that it's total own language. Many times, maybe also, of course, American films, they are based in somewhere. For example, they make film in Iran and everybody speaks English because it's American film. And here also we might do films of Swedish people or Russian people or Estonian people or Karelian people, and everybody speaks Finnish. So that's nowadays it's kind of boring, I think. So that's why I'm also like I'm really happy that we have the correct language here.
Well, if you ever get to Netflix, I hope there won't be a dubbed version of your film where everything is spoken in English.
Oh yeah.
That would be funny.
But I have to tell you that it was a strange experience when we began to rehearse with actors in Livvi first time, because even though I had written the script, but then when they began to speak with one another lines, I didn't understand a thing. I was watching them and I was thinking that, okay, what are they saying? I didn't remember anything which I had written. It was like looking at somebody else's film or somebody else's scenes. Yeah. It was really strange because I don't understand the language. Okay. So it was like I was trying to figure out where are they going, like, and so on. So it was really strange.
How much did you learn the language then? And not really at all?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Some words.
It must be a really challenging situation to direct.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's different. It's really different. But we managed.
There's a lot of interesting themes in the film, something that can be really up to your interpretation, how you read it. There's a lot of things that we can't this time talk about to our listeners when it comes to the plot, so yeah, there's no scene by scene today. And I encourage everyone around the world, of course, to come to Finland to see the film, so they can see for themselves. How was it as an editing experience? Joon.
It is hard to produce and edit film same time, because both of those parts of the work is quite big. So you have to do the two big jobs same time, and editing is something that you totally like go into, and you forget everything else, you just go with the story. But then when you always have like your phone is ringing, you got emails and you get stuff which is also like stopping your thinking and the mood when you're editing. So,
are you still a big fan of Premiere, or how was this edited?
I'm not fan of any of these programs, but during this moment, Premiere and Resolve are the main things I'm used, but at this moment. But otherwise, I mean, like, because the main job that you do is when you edit, it's not the program, it's just you like think and feel the film and pictures and how do you tell the story and what's the rhythm and bass, and you really need to concentrate that. And that's why it makes big job, and it's lonely job also. Of course, Annika is always there supporting me, but I cannot like talk all my things when I'm edit with her, so that's why it's kind of lonely. I think directing is also a very lonely job actually. So it took a lot of time, and of course the way we produced this, because we didn't got any like big fundings for Finnish Film Foundation or YLE or stuff like that. So everything we had to do ourselves, and that makes it quite a big job, and so heavy job that if I would make a new decision, I wouldn't do this again, actually. I'm happy now that we are here, but if I could make another choice, I wouldn't do it, actually. I tried to figure out some other ways to make it. So the editing was slow, and also there was I went to travel for a while, and we took another editor there for that time when I was traveling.
Sari Antikainen.
Yes, and Sari is the editor that I trust because I've been working with her many years, and sharing same thoughts about how to edit stuff. So, and Sari is really like, how should I say, really low ego and really patient person. So that felt good option, and Sari actually cut it through once.
Made a good version.
Very good version. I don't know how long. I don't remember how long she worked with the film, but it was kind of ready, or quite long version. And then it came back. I came back home, and we changed. Then it came back to my edit table, and editing is the stuff that it's really hard to share between two peoples because it's the personal rhythm, the personal feeling. But with Sari, it went really, really well. I was like so like happy what I saw that she had found from the material and how she used it, and then I right away understood why she was doing some stuff like that. So that went really well, and it was interesting, and that was good experience. I also have had in my history some not so good experience when a few persons have tried to edit same thing and it's just total catastrophe. But this was good.
It was conversational kind of between
Yes.
you two.
Yeah, that's the good way to say it, and that's why there is 2 editors in this film, and I'm really happy that it was with Sari. I can't find any other person who would I would get along so well with sharing a feature film editing.
Not tearing each other's hairs every day.
Yeah, or then you have to like remake. Oh, this is not good. I would do this differently. Then I have to start all over again. And then the other person continues, and then she or he is like, oh no, I have to do this all over again, and it will never finish. But this was opposite. It was like creating the next level and creating the next level and so on. So
Basically editing for 18 hours, then sleeping, then somebody else taking over.
well, maybe there was like a few months in one person. And then after it came back to me, my edit, and I edited, then I also show it to Sari and said that please tell me what you think about, and we talked about it, but then she didn't did any cuts after that. So I was like the main responsibility of the where the cuts are in the film, but she did so big job, and I'm so grateful.
And it's very relaxed cutting.
Of course, how Jarmo and Annika has made the material. There are a lot of scenes that are based on like they use only one shot, and we try to keep that in edit. Of course, you always have to make some changes, but I'm thinking that, for example, in fine art, when there is like picture or paint, and there might be like a lot of empty space, which is meaningful. So the same kind of idea that we just stay there with the character, and it's meaningful. So we don't just rush on it, because usually actually I'm quite of editor who just like doing a lot of cuts and going really speedy stuff. So this is first time that I actually tried like stop with the material, with the atmosphere. But I like the empty space thinking. It's not empty, but it's like space to also to think and to feel. When Anni's little brother, for example, is telling that he heard this bird when he was in front line, and then we just stay there with the picture, and we can see how he's like chewing the cheekbones, and we can understand that it's really traumatic to him, but we just stay there.
There were a lot of like long takes, and you would then kind of cut it from, maybe you would have 2 angles, and then you would try to work it out with these long takes. Was it challenging to put it together, or did you have to use a lot of cutaways to make it work? Did you have to take a lot of additional shots, to maybe close-ups, to tie it together, or it just worked pretty well as it was when changing from direction to direction the camera?
I think in every film there are scenes that go just like they planned, and every film has scenes that you have to do like everything in the edit, and like needling work from 1,000 small pieces and try to do some picture effect and everything to make it good.
And I saw that you did some additional shots also.
Yes, we make, but that was all
Nature
and
and
shots.
Not with actors.
Not with
Nothing
actors. And that was also decided when we start to film, because we needed to film these different scenes of winter time, when the spring comes, and those kind of weathers and animals that we were with Annika actually quite a few nights staying there in the forest with the camera and just waiting to get some animals here.
And birds and looking for where is that kind of a bird.
Yes,
and it never came. And then it was already the morning and we had to go home. And
it was so cold nights.
Next night again.
Yes. And it was midsummer party actually, really party for us. We spent it in the night in the forest and our cars was stuck in there in the night. And there is a lot of stories about that. But no, we didn't have to like remake pictures or remake material for edit in that point of view.
As mentioned, the film deals with really heavy topics. We already did discuss about the 2015 and the refugee crisis, but there's also the kind of a glorified history of the Finnish war, which is also something that is brought into question in There Will Be Spring. So I guess it's topical to ask, during the production of the film, or now that the film is out, were you or are you guys nervous about how people find the film and how they will react to the movie?
No.
No.
I'm not nervous about that. It is true that there is lots of people, I didn't know this earlier until I began to do this research work for the script. But then I found out that there actually is quite a bit of Finnish people who don't want to talk about the 1940s and what happened after these people who had lost their homes, after they began to come to the other parts of Finland and they had to be habited somewhere. There have been so much confrontation between people, between different cultured people at that time, and there have apparently happened so much things, bad things, which I don't know what it is. Such bad things that they don't want to go back and think about them. They don't want to talk about them. They don't want to talk about those times, as they told me. There is something that hurts people still. I think that, for example, films or art or literature, that we keep talking, that we keep thinking that these things existed and they still exist. That helps. And now as we see these confrontations coming again to surface and being part of our lives now, then I think that these things must be talked about. So I'm not nervous about that. If I'm nervous of something, it's like what people think about the film itself. Is it good or bad? Do they understand anything about it? But not about the opinions about this issue.
Okay, because it's kind of a heavy issue altogether, the 1940s to 1944. Basically to everybody, I would say, in Finland, from what I've understood the situation or the discussion that goes around when it came to the Karelian evacuees, there's kind of an official truth that we have in Finland, how things happened. That they evacuated and they were met warmly, and there are two truths. There's the official truth and then there is what most likely happened during those times and the personal stories of the people who had to go through that. And because of that, it's kind of interesting for us podcast hosts, it's interesting to see how people will take the film, how they will feel about the fact that the film kind of questions the official truth and the official narrative that we have and what the reaction will be. But at the same time, if I would be either director or producer of the film, I myself might be having some sleepless nights at the moment thinking about it.
I'm not. Well, but you put it quite well, that there is this official truth and the official narrative where Finnish people welcomed all the evacuees from Karelian or Hango or the northern part of Finland and gave them some land to cultivate and places to stay and shared. That was the official narrative, is that it was a time of sharing, and it didn't go that way. I would say that it rarely went that way, because everyone was worried about themselves and how they cope in this changing situation, and after the war when there was poverty and so on, and people were forced to give away their lands, part of their property, and taking people living under their roof even though there wasn't much space. There could be 2 rooms and already, living 8 people, and now there comes this 8 people more. So it was difficult, and there was fighting, and there was, racism, and there was not accepting. Of course, I don't understand why it is so difficult to talk about this. Why is it so difficult? Because people, human being, we all know how he is. Of course, wants to take care of himself first. That's the thing. But I think our message with this film is that even though we are what we are, and of course we have to survive, everyone, but that doesn't count out being empathetic and being understanding. So if we have 5 million people here and there comes 30,000 people from elsewhere, we can first be empathetic and try to help. And it isn't excluded, even though we want to survive ourselves too.
Of course, there are good stories, we all know, and there are bad stories. But for myself, my family, from my mother's side, is from Karelia, and they spoke this Livi language. My grandfather was born in Karelia, and he was 2 years old when they came here. Like the family of this film, they came to this side. And his father, so my grandfather's father, was writing diary every day of his life. And my mother is keeping writing those in computers, so it's easier to make search and read those. And there are a lot of stories about how things went. And it also confluenced in my life. I'm born in 80s. When my mother was a child, she was like beaten up after school because you're like Russian from Russian. And my mom was like, I don't understand what they talk about, because they kept it secret even from my mother about the background, because it was so afraid to tell the background that you are from Karelia and you're Orthodox and you speak this different language. And the name was changed. My grandfather's name was Maurit Tarasow, and it became Joon Tervakari. And my company name is Tarasow Films, and my name is Tervakari. So it's quite close. And also when I was young, and I was in Orthodox, I was in school, and people were thinking, why are you so different and blah blah blah. So it's still confluenced about a little bit. Maybe not anymore during these days, but if we think it was in the 40s, but because it's so like people don't talk and everybody tries to protect themselves and be quiet and change the names, and because they're afraid. So yes, there was good stories, but yes, there was also like bad stories.
Racism.
Yeah.
It was racism. Let's be clear.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Karelian people also, they ain't the only time when us Finns have been on a row when it comes to oppressing basically other cultural aspects within Finland, and things that we kind of don't qualify as Finnish. The other famous case is the case of Sami people, to whom we did the exact same thing when it came to cultural oppression and denying them from their own tradition and trying to kind of suppress and change them pretty forcibly. And seeing how we kind of have a long-winded history with pulling this stunt, and coming from there, from Sami people from 1940s to 2015, seeing kind of the similar type of situation brewing once again. As an artist, I kind of have to ask you guys, do you think that we now are changing, like as people, as Finns, and as groups that have gone through these kind of experiences? So like,
So have we learned?
Have we learned? Have us Finns kind of learned to be better, or are we on the road to become better? And at the same time, the Karelian people and Sami people who have had these painful experiences, are they now finding the courage to talk about what they went through? Because in production of the film, you also did mention that there were a lot of people who said that let's just not open the box. Let's keep the past hidden and not talk about what happened.
The thing is that it's usually said that human species develops all the time towards being more human. If we think about, ancient times, how it was, how the societies was, and so on. When we're living in 2020, we should be now very much developed. But we aren't. If we are looking at the political situation in Finland, for example, these days, political conversations, for example, one party like Perussuomalaiset are based on hatred speech.
And that's the true Finns that people might know internationally as well.
Yeah, true Finns. So, and they aren't the only party who has taken this very harsh form of speech as their equipment. And that tells me that we haven't developed towards empathetic species as much as we could have. If we were, we maybe hadn't done this film. But I think it's an ever-continuing battle that those who appreciate minorities, are they cultural, are they gender, are they sexual, are they whatever, based on religion, but minorities, those who think that they have the right to exist, those have to battle against them who only see one kind of a people being privileged to exist. This is my opinion.
I think this is not also during these times not only a problem here in Finland, but there are also like the cultural proud things that are really good things. Like nowadays, I've heard that these, for example, Livvi-Karelian speaking people have grown a little bit, and among young peoples they are like doing all kind of Karelian stuff, and also Sami people Sami stuff, and it starts to kind of live a new life. And I think Finland here, because we are so like far away from big world, and there is this ocean between, we always have to fly somewhere if we want to go. I think that here things are just changing slow, and we're still kind of stick that every people here is like Lutheric and white, and we have like certain kind of idea what like a basic Finnish person is and are, and what kind of stuff he or she do. But maybe we need more time. We are like a teenager in this
International
here, yeah. Because if you go in middle part of Europe, there are like all kind of religions, all kind of people, all kind of languages,
but
and everything.
Also
that's normal.
Racism.
Of course there is.
Exists.
Yeah, but that and that it's like a growing up, and
all
people
over,
can
all over.
But like basically, I think that we are still not used to this international mixed people here.
Yeah, we are younger. Nation.
Yeah,
we're a younger nation.
Yeah, and we're also quite blind to look backwards, which this film is really good.
Yeah, we have this notion that we are, at least in my opinion, we Finns often take pride in exactly how backwards we are. Yeah. Like we still want to define ourselves as a nation and as values by basically upholding the lifestyle and the values of 1930s and 1940s. And we still try to, even today, we try to define kind of what is Finland and what type of a person a Finn is based on those age-old values. And we are somehow afraid and hesitant to kind of upgrade kind of the image that we have about the Finn.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think that we all have the responsibility to understand, to have some kind of understanding towards different kind of people, different than ourselves, different from ourselves. I have always thought that it's my responsibility as a parent to show them that there is different kind of people and different kind of thinking, different kind of ways of lives.
For our tech nerds of the podcast, would you like to talk about the gear that you have used for filming it?
We use this Blackmagic Ursa 4.6K PL camera, PL mount. Then we rent the lenses, and we use these old lenses.
I thought so, yeah.
We
It
got
definitely
this,
looks like this.
Certain kind of style for that film, and I'm sorry, I don't remember which were the lenses, but old lenses anyway, and that it made a little bit it's softer and the film looked like.
So how much is that like natural, the blurriness that you get with this effect, or is it touched
It's
digitally as well?
fully natural from the lens, yeah. Even it's 4.6. There is actually few pictures. There is one picture where we use this like super expensive Arri 4K, some super objective, and it was like shock in the eyes when it came to edit, and we had to put it in that material, so we needed to blur and soft it. And there is few other pictures that we shot in my own lenses that are also like newer and sharper, so those we had to blur a little bit to make them fit well. But the main pictures are shot with those old lenses.
What about that, let's call it an establishing shot of this, there's a moon during the night sky.
That's the old lens.
Yeah, and that was completely natural, filmed that location.
Yeah. Our cinematographer Jarmo Kiuru was driving in the cottage where he was living in the forest during the shooting, so he just stopped and made some beautiful night pictures, and there was one of those where this moon, and one of those where the horses on the field in the night, and the trees that the fog is filled with the trees and that kind of stuff. So they are like really made in. It's the real moon, yeah. We didn't put it in there in the post. Yeah. The effects things we did was mainly like oh my god, there is a lamp in the picture, we need to remove it, that kind of things.
I think, yeah, there's also multiple ways to read the timeline as you depict it in the film. Like something would happen actually in order, or then you can read it that it's not. For example, I think the forest scenes with Varis and all that kissing, and I think there's a lot of kind of complicated editing going on. Was it during the dance scene or something? You're kind of combining so many different time periods, possibly.
This dancing, yes.
I wonder if it was all scripted or you just came up with it, like, let's cut here.
It was scripted. Okay.
Yeah. That was scripted, but when Anni is walking through the forest, that wasn't scripted.
Yeah, that wasn't originally, no.
Yeah.
You had storyboard as well?
No.
We didn't, no.
Oh, pretty well done.
Yeah. We made a quite precise plan for the shooting with Jarmo, but we had the storyboard kind of written down, but we didn't feel like needing the exact storyboard.
How about the internal shots? Are they actually shot in location mostly?
Yeah, they are all of them.
All of them?
Yeah, in the actual location.
And the film itself is based on Lapinlahti, but it was filmed completely in Raasepori?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything included?
Yeah.
Nice. About the international appeal, what do you think is the thing that most would appeal or work for the international audience from your film?
I would say that the grasp of the film, which is made of, that would be what appeals to international. It's originality as its grasp, kind of how it's made, what is the spirit of the film, how does it feel like.
And Finns, for sure, just the cultural element of the language is huge for it. And I'm really glad that you are trying to bring more attention to these languages that are unfortunately dying. So it's great to see.
And I also hope that internationally the main issue here, which is this racism and that kind of thing, so it's so common. So I hope that people find it out through their own culture and through their own environment, and so that's quite local nowadays. So that also I hope that the main message is valid in many countries during these days.
So once again, what's next for you guys? What's going to happen next? What's going to come out?
Well, we are going to finish editing the feature documentary, which we are making about politics concerning science and about Finnish politics, hard politics.
And we can expect that in 2021?
Yes.
Yes.
It's now in the film editing. I'm currently editing that. Same time here with this work for this. There will be spring film, and Wiley has already bought the documentary, and so it will be next spring. It must be ready.
There will be spring.
There will be spring, and then there will be another film. Yeah.
And this film was also affected, of course, by the COVID-19. This was originally scheduled for early 2020, and now we're here. Do you think this will have any effect on how successful your film is going to be?
Are you talking about now this There Will Be Spring film?
Yeah, there will be. I'm jumping a bit.
Yeah, that was supposed. Well, that was supposed. Was supposed to have the premiere at the May, and well, because the situation and the film theaters were closed, we will have it now, and August, and we'll see. I hope that things will go well, and people want to go to movies after a long break, and of course, well, for us, the good thing, if I may say so, is that the big Hollywood films are like coming even more later, so there is more space for Finnish films now.
It's fortunate maybe for you that we have a pretty good COVID situation here, so maybe
Yes.
people will actually go see it.
Yes, and so that thanks. One of my friends said that thanks to Trump's politics, we don't have the Hollywood films here during our premiere time. So let's see. We hope that people find this, and we would get also, of course, a lot of people to see the film and share this main message of it.
It's going to be interesting times because the Tenet film was postponed, but now, to my great surprise, it's actually coming in late August. So maybe the business is starting to get up back to its feet, and James Bond is still scheduled for November.
Yeah.
And maybe Tenet will encourage them to keep it in November.
Speaking of audiences, what has been the response from the Karelian regions and people affected by your film?
We don't know yet because
During the production phase.
well, during that, yes, there's people are interested about these issues and themes that we're doing this, and this is first like Karelian language's feature film, and so that, yes, people are really like, oh wow, that's good and nice.
I think for a lot of Finns, they don't know too much about the Eastern Finland, and should definitely take more trips.
And it's Russia. Those places are Russia.
Yeah, those.
Yeah.
And seeing that you got so many experienced seasoned actors, I guess this has been some kind of a passion project for many of them.
Yeah. So they say. They wanted to be part of it. They liked the story. They thought that the themes in the story were important to tell, and I think most of them also liked the possibility to act with this Livvi-Karelian language. But of course, as a scriptwriter, it was nice to hear that they wanted to be part of the story that this film included. So.
Okay, let's tease our friends here with some quickies. So, favorite scene from your film?
I like the night conversation between the sister and the brother.
Mine is when Anni is really upset and angry and he goes to Turkka to ask.
To Tauno.
To Tauno. Turkka is the name of the actor. So goes to Tauno to say what she wants and what the family needs when she's really angry. Yeah. That's my favorite.
To me, maybe the dancing scene.
Really?
There is the cross. Yeah, there is the cross cutting between what happens on the dance hall and with the mother.
Yeah.
And I got this kind of a feverish tempo from the cutting and from how the sound starts to kind of play out, how it starts to gain in tempo and in volume, and then how it all of a sudden it comes very kind of a centralized into the main singer.
It's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Nice to hear that.
Favorite quote or favorite line or lines from the film?
Katohan reikkalaisia.
Mine is maybe minä olen mies.
Short ones.
Yeah.
I have to go with the I am a man also. Yeah. Pretty much because perhaps it was, at least for me, it was the single quote that in best way encapsulated the whole theme and the whole kind of a disconnect that Anni had to her brothers.
Yeah.
I would have to go with the juokse.
Joo, juokse, liitu, juokse.
Juokse, liitu, juokse. Run, liitu, run.
Yeah. That tells you that you're a little bit romantic person. I think.
Yes.
I guess. And favorite kill of this film? We come from a horror movie background, so
Favorite kill.
is in. So now you can be really creative.
Okay. Kill. Maybe kill of the ego of Tauno.
Nice one. I would have gone with the kill of racism in a sense, which is what you're doing. Henrik?
For my end, most likely Tauno Varikses Rose, a man who lost in the front. Never forget.
Well, one of my favorite is when Anni is killing her thrustment towards her mother when she gets like upset and angry and yelling to mother that shut up. And after that, when she's killing that feeling and continues helping the mother, I think that's one that's not mentioned here and it's also good. So that's why I choose that. Yeah.
Good one.
Maybe we could introduce one old classic from our questions. It might be something that you can respond easily. I don't know. Which image best exemplifies this film? What is the kind of the defining shot of the film?
I have a few, so it's really hard to make one decision.
Well, it's Anni writing because it's the freedom.
And also our marketing key art picture where Anni is eyes closed and Tauno is touching her shoulder behind, a little bit blur.
I would go once again with the gallop.
Yeah.
It's a very dreamy vibe that I kind of like this.
That's funny that you said that dreamy because that was in many scenes what we did, and for example in editing and also sound designing part of works we were talking about this. It's kind of a dream this scene is kind of, it could be dream also, and it could be real. That was many times we were talking about this, so it's nice that you use that word.
What took you out?
Perhaps all the many moments of Manu being complete brain jackass.
Anything that pulls you in particularly?
The parts where Anni is in her own thoughts, thinking about something, how something feels, especially Tauno, how Tauno feels, or when she's kind of remembering how a man feels, or what is the sense of a man. I think that one.
I really love the part when Anni is, it's the second time when in the film Anni is seeing Tauno in the forest and they are kissing and that kind of thing, and then that Tauno is taking a little bit distant, and Anni is like frustrated because same time she's like adult woman and so child, and she's in that border and saying these things that don't you think you don't like me or something. I think that's something I really feel something inside me when I look Anni, because she's so honest and open there, that character. So I did really like that. I'm always like smiling when I'm looking at that.
Scissors of Sacrilege is the next section, so this is where we say what we would change in the film. I think we haven't used this category for a while, but I think it would be kind of pertinent here, so...
This is interesting.
Yeah.
There would be something that you would change.
I thought you. So I'm like, now we want to...
You can be critical of your own.
Well, as a director, I think you always have things you would want to change, and especially in this case when it was 2.5 years ago when we shot this film. So it's been a while.
3 years ago.
3 years ago, is it?
More than 3 years ago.
More than 3 years ago,
Yes,
really?
2017.
Oh my God.
May.
So of course I would like to change some things, but amazingly few.
Yeah, for me there is a lot of like starting from the production. Yeah, two things, a lot of differently thinking the production, but as a film editor, there is always, yes, you would like to make it more better, but in this film and this case, even if I would have a chance, I wouldn't like to recut anything, because I think I would spoil it if I would start it again, because it's good as it is now, so not as a film editor, no.
Complete the sentence, please. You really know you're watching Syksyn jälkeen saapuu kevät when... ...
You really know you're watching Syksyn jälkeen saapuu kevät when you cry all over again.
When you are sitting and you don't dare to breathe because you want to concentrate what you're looking for.
When you don't understand the language.
And when you're thinking that what they are talking about.
When...
No pressure.
No?
Are you going to answer also?
When you're in a kind of a cultural dream that feels like your own, but it's still something different, you get this brotherly feeling towards this language and this whole world.
Yeah.
Something like this. Henrik?
I too have to go with the language.
Yeah.
Like that, like mentioned a couple of times already, we don't have a film that would use the Livvi-Karelian language. So of course, naturally, when you are a Finnish audience member and you are watching the film, and you kind of immediately pick up that, hey, this is the disconnect between the film being a Finnish movie and all of a sudden the language being something you don't outright recognize, and at the same time you are picking something that you actually do understand and what you do know what the word means.
3 adjectives to describe the film: somber, dreamy,
Shadows.
beautiful.
Oh. Good ones. Thank you for that. Tragic, and you say the next one.
Happening in shadows. And rain.
Intimate.
Henrik, would you recommend the film?
I would. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting it to be when I first time heard about what the film is going to be about. I was expecting something a bit more traditional, perhaps something like you said, precisely what you didn't want to make, more epoch. And also perhaps a narrative that would kind of more concentrate on how the evacuee situation went on historically, like timeline wise, whereas the finished film is not so much about how it happened. It's more about what it meant to this one family, what it meant for that smaller unit. But after kind of getting over that and realizing that that's not what I'm going to get, and kind of starting to pay more attention to what I am getting, I do admit that it was really effective movie, and I myself always see these kind of films kind of a torchbearer films, the films that carry kind of a legacy with them. Because through There Will Be Spring, it's not just telling a version of the story of what these people went through, but especially in this film's case, it's also kind of a carrying with itself the Livvi-Karelian language. And this way, it kind of works in both ways. It helps us to remember what happened and get ourselves familiarized with what happened and the history of the Karelian evacuees. But at the same time, it can also kind of help to defend the Livvi-Karelian language from becoming completely extinct, which is something that at the moment threatens it, as it's one of the forgotten languages in Finland.
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect as well of the film, but it might be this kind of a film where it's a good idea to read the synopsis before you dive into it, because of the certain focus points that it has from the Karelian region or what happened there, and would definitely, of course, recommend the film. It's hopefully giving more focus or exposure for Livvi-Karelian language. Maybe you will start a new trend in Finland where we don't have to watch comedy all the time.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that this is totally not. There's no comedy in this film. Only is one small
But there
joke.
is lightness still.
Yes,
There is
lightness. Even it's really melancholic. There is light. It's not so heavy.
But the thing is that I wonder what those people who come to see the film back in small provinces of Finland, who are these elderly people who have their own memories about this time, and they see the movie and it's not historic. There is these scenes in bedrooms and so on, so it's not probably the one they expected.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually waiting, that what will happen.
Yes, let's see what will be the feedback.
We want to see the evakko film.
Yeah,
And
it's not
actually this might be a little bit different.
Yeah, the traditional evakko.
Given that we have 4 minutes left, I will push a little bit ahead here. So, is there any links or something that you want to share or say hi to somebody from the production or whatnot?
Well, of course, everyone who made this film and all who supported us and trusted us and knew that somehow understood that what we tried to do. That support and work, I'm always grateful.
And where can people go to find out more about your flick?
Tarasow ep.101.org. There you can find also the page of the film.
And once again, the film will be out on 28th of August 2020. And we are extremely grateful that we got this opportunity to see the film way before the premiere. And it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was
nice to be here.
Yes, yes.
And Henrik, in my bag, if you would like to go there, hopefully not getting COVID, there's something.
There's COVID there in the back.
A little present for you.
Oh my god! What is
Yeah.
it? This is
Wild
alcohol.
moonshine.
This is some traditional vodka from Latvia.
Oh,
So,
that's so nice.
Latvia.
40%
Yeah.
volume alcohol.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
suits me.
and apparently it's developed using eggs.
Really?
And I believe it has more information about it there.
Okay.
really interesting.
Yeah, it's English.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this, and
It's
thank
going
you
to be
for
used.
this
well.
podcast.
It's better that we have been drinking too much lately, so you go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And once again, congrats for the film. Hope it will be successful and your future projects, and hope to meet you once again in the near future.
You too. Thank you. Everybody, please listen. Flick Lab.
Mulla itse asiassa ei ole quikissä. Mä melkein sanoisin, että juu ei.
Tämä kuulosti hirveän mielenkiintoiselta. Mä ryhdistäydyin tässä.
Mikä on sun lempiväri? Entä lempieläin? Mikä oli sun eka kerta?
Annikan omat quickies. Sitten se voi keksiä ne, jos teille ei ole.